Imagine this. Your boss sends you an email, and it's not good news. Or someone says something that really upsets you, maybe a friend, maybe a partner, and you feel that heat rising in your chest. Your heart is going faster, your face is getting hot, and you fire back. You say something, maybe you send the message, maybe you raise your voice. And then, 10 minutes later, you wish you hadn't. You know that feeling? That moment where you think, why did I say that? Why did I react like that? What if I told you there's a rule, a very simple, very specific rule that can stop that from happening almost every single time? And it has nothing to do with meditation or journaling or any of that stuff. It's called the 90-second rule. And by the end of this episode, you are going to understand exactly how it works, why it works, and how to actually use it in your real life. Stay with us. Welcome to Real World English. I'm Hannah, and I'm here with Red, as always.
Hey everyone, good to be back.
And before we dive in, I just want to say something to you directly, especially if you're watching this and thinking, okay, they're speaking really fast. First of all, good. That means your ear is working. This podcast is spoken at natural, native speed, and that is completely intentional. We're not slowing down, and that's not us being mean. It's actually the most useful thing we can do for you, because your listening skills improve through exposure to real speed, real rhythm, real speech. That's how it works. If right now it feels a little fast, you can go into YouTube settings and drop the speed to 0.8 or 0.9. No shame in that at all. But the goal? Gradually, you move away from that. You train your ear, and one day you realize, oh, I'm watching it full speed and I'm getting everything. That's the moment. That's real progress.
Honestly, yeah. I remember when I was learning another language and everything felt like people were talking at 100 miles an hour. And then suddenly something clicks and you're like, oh, wait, I actually understood that whole thing. It's such a good feeling.
Exactly. Okay, so the 90-second rule. Fred, had you heard of this before we prepped for today?
I had heard the phrase, yeah, but I didn't really know the science behind it. Like I thought it was just a productivity tip or something, like wait 90 seconds before you reply to an email.
Right. Okay, so let me break this down. The 90-second rule actually comes from a brain scientist, a neuroscientist named Jill Bolt Taylor. And her idea is this: when you experience a strong emotion, anger, fear, jealousy, embarrassment, whatever, the physical, chemical part of that emotion in your body, it lasts 90 seconds. That's it, 90 seconds.
Wait, that's it? Like the actual physical reaction?
The actual physical reaction, the chemicals that flood your system, the adrenaline, the cortisol, they move through and out of your body in about 90 seconds. Now, here's the important part. And by the way, we're going to come back to this later because there's one specific phrase in English that people use in emotional situations, and almost every learner gets it slightly wrong in a way that actually changes the meaning completely. So keep that in the back of your mind. But first, the rule.
Okay, so 90 seconds. What happens after 90 seconds?
So after 90 seconds, if you are still feeling the emotion, still angry, still hurt, still spiraling, it's because you are choosing to re-trigger it. You are replaying the thought. You're going over it again. You're feeding it. And that's not your body anymore. That's your mind.
Oh, that's actually a lot to think about.
Right? Because it means, and this is the part that I think really hits people, it means that you have more control than you think. Not in the first 90 seconds, maybe, but after that, that's on you. And I say that with compassion, not judgment, because, I have definitely been someone who can sit with anger for hours, days even.
Same. I once stayed annoyed at someone for like a week over something that I cannot even remember now.
And that's the thing. The original trigger fades, and then we're just maintaining the emotion manually. We're doing it to ourselves.
Okay, but here's the thing nobody talks about. And honestly, this is the part that actually changes everything. It's not just about waiting, it's about what you do in those 90 seconds.
Yes, exactly. So if the chemical reaction is going to pass on its own, you don't have to fight it. You don't have to suppress it or force yourself to calm down. You just have to not act on it. That's the whole move. Don't send the message. Don't say the thing. Don't make the decision. Just let those 90 seconds pass,
Which sounds simple
which sounds so simple,
and is also incredibly hard.
incredibly hard, because in that moment, your brain is telling you, act now, respond now. This is urgent. And that feeling of urgency, that's the chemicals. That's your nervous system doing what it evolved to do thousands of years ago when the threat was like a bear, not your coworker's tone in a Slack message.
Right. Your body cannot tell the difference between a bear and a passive-aggressive email.
Exactly. Your threat response is the same. So, and this is a great moment, I think, to actually pause. I want you, listening right now, to think of one situation in your own life where you reacted too quickly and regretted it. Just one. Hold it in your mind, because the rest of this episode is going to feel very personal to you.
Ooh, I like that. I've got mine already, by the way. It's too embarrassing to share.
Mine too. Okay, so let's talk about how you actually practice this, because knowing the rule and using the rule are very different things.
Right. This is where a lot of self-help stuff kind of falls apart, isn't it? Like you read the theory and you're nodding along, and then something happens and you completely forget everything you read.
Totally. So, a few practical things. First, physical interruption. When you feel that spike of emotion, do something physical immediately. Stand up, take a breath. Not like a slow meditative breath, just a big, full breath, in and out. Walk to the other room, get a glass of water. The point is to give your body something to do, so it doesn't direct all that energy into your mouth or your thumbs.
Your thumbs. I love that because, yeah, the number of times I've almost sent a text.
Oh, we've all been there. And by the way, if you're learning English and you want a phrase for that moment, there's a really useful one: to sit with something. Like, I'm going to sit with this for a moment before I respond. And if you're wondering what that means, to sit with something, it basically means to be with a feeling or a problem without rushing to fix it or react to it, to give it space. I need to sit with this. Really natural, really common.
I use that one a lot, actually. It sounds calm. It buys you time without sounding like you're avoiding something.
Exactly. Okay, so physical interruption, and then the second thing is what I call the name it strategy. When you feel the emotion, you literally name it in your head. You say, I am feeling angry right now. I am feeling embarrassed. I am feeling hurt. And this sounds almost too simple.
It does sound too simple.
But neuroscience actually backs this up. When you label an emotion, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the thinking, rational part of your brain, and it starts to calm down the emotional response. It's like your brain goes, oh, we're analyzing this now? Okay, stand down.
That's fascinating. So just naming it is enough to start to diffuse it?
It starts the process, yeah. It's not magic, you still have to wait out the 90 seconds, but it helps you get through it without acting on it.
I feel like this is also just really useful for communication in general, right? Like even in relationships, if you can say to someone, I'm feeling frustrated right now, that's so much more useful than just acting frustrated.
So much more. And I think that connects to something really interesting about how English speakers, and I'd say a lot of Western communication culture, actually talks about emotions. There's a distinction that comes up a lot. And this is actually the phrase I teased at the beginning, the one that learners often get slightly wrong. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so the difference between saying I am angry and I feel angry. Now, on the surface, those sound almost the same, right?
Yeah, I would have said they're basically interchangeable.
A lot of people do, but there's actually a subtle difference in how they feel to a listener. I am angry, that's identity. That's you defining yourself as anger in that moment. I feel angry, that creates a tiny bit of distance. It signals this is an emotion I'm experiencing, not who I am. And in a conversation, especially a tense one, that distinction matters. I feel angry tends to keep the conversation open. I am angry can sometimes shut it down.
Huh.
That's actually really subtle. I wouldn't have noticed that consciously, but I think I do respond to that differently.
Right? And it connects back to the 90-second rule perfectly because the whole idea of the rule is creating that distance. Not I am this emotion, but I am having this emotion and it will pass.
Okay, I want to ask you something because I feel like there are people listening who are thinking, okay, but what about when the thing is genuinely serious? Like, what if it's not just a misunderstanding? What if you have every right to be angry?
Yes, great question. And I want to be really clear. The 90-second rule is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending something didn't hurt you. It's not about being passive. It's about responding instead of reacting. There's a huge difference. A reaction is automatic, it's reflex. A response is chosen. And when something genuinely matters, when you need to have a real, important conversation about something, you want to be responding, not reacting, because your reaction might not actually say what you mean.
That's a really important distinction. To react versus to respond. I feel like that's almost a whole episode on its own.
It might be. And actually, pause right here. Before we go on, I want to give you a challenge. Think about a conversation coming up in your life, at work, at home, wherever, where you might feel some kind of emotional pressure. Maybe it's a tricky topic with someone. Maybe it's a job interview. Whatever it is, decide right now that you're going to try the 90 seconds. Next time you feel that spike, you're going to notice it, name it, and wait. That's it. Just try it once.
And come back and tell us how it went. Seriously, leave a comment. We read them.
We do. Okay, so we've talked about the science, we've talked about the practical strategies, but honestly, the thing I keep coming back to is how much this rule is really about self-awareness. And I think for a lot of people, the hardest part isn't the 90 seconds, it's noticing that you're in the 90 seconds in the first place.
Right. Because when you're in it, you don't feel like you're reacting. You feel like you're right.
Yes, that is so well put. When the emotion is running, it feels completely justified. It feels like clarity. And actually, it's kind of the opposite.
That temporary feeling of, I know exactly what I need to do right now, is actually not super reliable.
Not super reliable. So one more thing I want to add, and then we'll get into our words and phrases segment. If you're someone who deals with anxiety, and I know a lot of our listeners do, this rule can also be really helpful in anxious moments, not just angry ones. Because anxiety has that same quality of urgency, right? This is an emergency, I need to figure this out right now, and often it isn't. Often the feeling will move through in 90 seconds and you'll realize the situation looks different on the other side.
That's a really compassionate way to put it. And I think for people learning English, this kind of emotional vocabulary, knowing how to talk about feelings in a nuanced way, that's actually really advanced. Like, a lot of fluency is not just grammar. It's being able to say what you actually mean about your inner life.
Beautifully said. Okay, let's do our words and phrases. All right, so words and phrases, this is where we pick out some of the key expressions from today's episode and just make sure they're really clear.
Love this part. Okay, first one.
First one, to fire back. So we used this near the top of the episode. To fire back means to respond quickly and sharply, usually to something negative, like someone criticizes you and you immediately fire back with a criticism of your own. She fired back at him before he even finished his sentence. That quickness, that sharpness, that's the flavor of it.
Next one, to spiral. We said still spiraling. To spiral means to get worse and worse in a kind of uncontrolled way. Thoughts, emotions, a situation. I started worrying about one thing and then I just spiraled. It has that sense of going around and around, going deeper.
Good one. Okay, to sit with something. We talked about this one. It means to stay with a feeling or a problem without rushing to fix it or react, to give it space. I don't have an answer yet. I need to sit with it for a while. Very natural, very common in English.
Next, to diffuse. To diffuse a situation, or in today's context, to diffuse an emotion. It means to reduce tension, to make something less explosive, basically. Like diffusing a bomb. He made a joke and it completely diffused the tension in the room.
Love that one. Okay, to react versus to respond. These aren't single words, but they're such an important pair. To react is automatic, instinctive. It's what happens before you think. To respond is deliberate, considered. I didn't want to react, so I took a breath and tried to respond thoughtfully. In emotional conversations, that difference is everything.
And the last one, to sit on something. Oh, wait, did we use that one?
We didn't, but it's close to sit with something, so let's do it anyway because it's useful. To sit on something means to delay acting on it, usually a decision or a message. Like, I wrote the email, but I'm going to sit on it overnight before I send it. Classic 90-second rule energy.
Perfect. Okay, that's a wrap on today's episode.
That is a wrap. Thank you so much for listening. And genuinely, try the 90 seconds this week. Just once. Notice the spike, name the feeling, wait it out. You might be surprised what's on the other side of it.
And if this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. You probably know someone.
We'll see you next time on Real World English. Take care, everyone.
See you soon.